I retired with more money than I ever thought a man like me could have. A paid-off house, a healthy bank account, no debt, no boss, no alarm clock. And for one quiet morning, I actually believed I had won. Then I looked across the kitchen table at the empty chair where my wife used to sit, and I realized something I wish I had understood 40 years earlier. You can save for the future so long that by the time you finally get there, the person you were saving it for is already gone.
My name is Harold Bennett. I am 79 years old, and I am not telling you this story because I want pity. I am telling you because somewhere out there is a man just like I was, a man who thinks he is doing the right thing, a man who tells himself he is working late because he loves his family, a man who keeps promising his wife that one day, when things calm down, they will finally take the trip, finally fix the garden, finally sit together in the morning without rushing, finally live. That was me. And the woman who waited for me was named Mary. I met Mary when I was 24 years old. She was working at a small bakery on the corner of Maple Street. I used to walk past it on my way to the office, even when it was raining, even when I did not need bread, just so I could see her through the window. She had this way of laughing like she was not embarrassed to be happy. That is what I noticed first. Not her hair, not her smile, her laugh. It filled the room before she even spoke. Back then I had nothing. I owned 2 suits. One of them did not fit properly. I drove a car that only started when it felt like being kind. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with a heater that sounded like it was trying to escape the wall. But Mary never made me feel poor. She used to say, "Harold, we have time. That makes us rich enough." I did not understand what she meant. I thought time was something everyone had. Money was what worried me. So after we married, I made myself a promise. I told myself Mary would never have to worry again. No overdue bills, no cheap apartments, no broken heaters, no wondering if we could afford dinner out. I was going to give her a good life. And for many years that sounded noble. It even sounded loving. I worked early. I worked late. I said yes to every extra project, every weekend meeting, every business trip. When Mary asked if I would be home for dinner, I would say, "I'll try." But we both knew what that meant. It meant no. It meant she would make 2 plates, cover mine with foil, and leave it in the oven until the chicken went dry. It meant she would sit at that little kitchen table and listen to the clock. It meant she would go to bed before I came home. And I would walk in quietly, loosen my tie, eat alone under the yellow kitchen light, and tell myself this was sacrifice. That word protected me for a long time. Sacrifice. It made neglect sound holy. It made absence sound responsible. It made missing her life feel like proof that I loved her. Mary wanted simple things. That is what hurts me most now. She did not ask for diamonds. She did not care about expensive restaurants. She never once asked me for a bigger house. She wanted Sunday walks. She wanted me to sit with her on the porch after dinner. She wanted to visit the coast in autumn, when the beaches were empty and the air smelled like salt and rain. And she wanted Italy. Not because she cared about luxury, because when she was a girl, she had seen a picture of a little street in Florence with flowers hanging from the balconies. She kept that magazine clipping in a box beside our bed for almost 30 years. Every year she would bring it out. Every year I would say the same thing. "Next year, Mary, once the business settles down." Then next year became the year after that, and the year after that. Next year became my favorite lie. The strange thing is, I was not lying on purpose. I meant it every time. That is how people waste their lives, not by choosing the wrong thing once, but by choosing it again and again in small, reasonable ways. One missed dinner, one delayed trip, one phone call taken during a conversation, one anniversary cut short because something came up, one more year of telling the person you love that the future will be better. And then, one day, the future arrives, but they are tired, or changed, or gone. Mary and I had one daughter, Claire. She was born on a Tuesday morning in May. I remember standing in the hospital room, holding her for the first time, and feeling like the world had become heavier and more beautiful at the same time. Mary looked exhausted, but happy. She said, "Promise me you won't miss this." I kissed her forehead and said, "I promise." I meant that too. But promises are easy when nothing is demanding proof yet. I missed the afternoon Claire learned to ride a bike because I was on a call in my office with the door closed. Mary filmed it for me. That night she showed me the little tape. Claire wobbled down the driveway, screaming with joy, and Mary's voice was behind the camera at the same time. I remember watching it and saying, "That's wonderful." Then I asked if dinner was ready. God forgive me. I did not know I was becoming a visitor in my own family. I thought being there financially counted as being there. The house grew nicer. The car grew newer. The bank account grew stronger. But the rooms grew quieter. Mary stopped asking me to come home early. At first I thought that meant she understood. Now I know it meant she had stopped expecting me. There is a difference, a painful one. By the time I was 60, we had everything I had once dreamed of. The mortgage was nearly paid off. My retirement accounts looked better than I ever expected. We had investments, insurance, savings, all of it. I was proud. I thought I had built safety. But Mary had become quiet in a way I did not recognize. She still smiled. She still made coffee. She still remembered everyone's birthday. But something soft in her had pulled away from me. One evening I found her sitting at the kitchen table with the old Italy clipping in front of her. I laughed and said, "Still holding on to that?" She did not laugh. She just folded it carefully and put it back in the box. Then she said, "I think I stopped believing we'd go." I told her not to be dramatic.
That sentence keeps me awake sometimes, not because it was the worst thing I ever said, but because of how easily I said it. The years went on. I worked 5 more than I needed to. That is the part that feels almost impossible to admit. We had enough. We had enough money. We had enough security. We had enough. But I had become addicted to preparing for life instead of living it. There was always another target, another number, another safer amount, another reason to wait.
Then at 68, I finally retired. There was a small party at the office. People made speeches. They called me disciplined, dedicated, a man who built something from nothing. I smiled for the photographs. They gave me a watch, a gold one. Everyone clapped. And I remember thinking, now it begins. Now Mary and I can travel. Now we can sleep in. Now we can spend mornings together. Now I can make it up to her. I came home that afternoon holding a folder full of travel brochures. Italy, France, Greece, even that coastal town she had talked about for years. Mary was in the garden, kneeling by the rose bushes. I held up the brochures like a boy showing off a report card. I said, "Pick anywhere." She smiled at me, but it was not the smile I expected. It was gentle, almost sad. She said, "Let's start small." 2 months later, she was diagnosed. I will not go into the details. Some things belong to the people who lived them. But I will tell you this. When a doctor says the word serious, the room changes. The walls move farther away. The air becomes harder to breathe. You stop hearing full sentences. You hear pieces, treatment, options, time. I looked at Mary. She looked at me. And in that moment, all the numbers I had spent my life chasing became completely useless. The account balances, the house, the watch from the retirement party, none of it could buy us back a single ordinary Tuesday. That is what I wanted most. Not a miracle, not a mansion, not a private plane. Just one ordinary Tuesday from 30 years earlier. Mary at the kitchen sink, humming to herself. Claire doing homework at the table. Me walking through the door at 6 o'clock instead of 9. Sitting down while the food was still warm. Listening, laughing, being there. It is strange what the heart begs for when it finally understands. Mary never blamed me. That almost made it worse. If she had shouted, I could have defended myself. If she had said, "I ruined everything," I could have argued. But she was kind. She was kind right to the end. One afternoon in the hospital, I was sitting beside her bed, holding her hand. Her fingers had become so thin. I told her I was sorry. Not the quick kind of sorry men say when they want the conversation to end. A real sorry. The kind that comes from the deepest, most ashamed place inside you. I told her I was sorry for every dinner, every trip, every morning I rushed past her. Every time I made her feel like the life we had now was less important than the life we might have later. She squeezed my hand. Then she said something I have carried every day since. She said, "Harold, I never needed the world." Then she looked toward the window, and after a long pause, she said, "I just wanted more Tuesdays with you." More Tuesdays. Not Italy, not money, not the house. Tuesdays. That is what love had been asking me for all along, and I had been too busy to hear it. Mary passed away the following spring. I was 68 years old. I am 79 now, which means I have had 11 years to sit in this house and understand what I traded away. The morning after the funeral, I woke up before sunrise. For a few seconds, I forgot. That is one of the cruelest parts of grief. The mind gives you a small moment of peace before it hands you the truth again. I turned toward her side of the bed. It was empty. The sheets were still. Her book was still on the nightstand with a bookmark in the middle, as if she had only gone downstairs for tea. I lay there for a long time. Then I got up, walked into the kitchen, and made coffee for one. That was the first morning I understood retirement. Not the version from the brochures. Not the version with smiling couples on cruise ships. The real version. A quiet house, a full bank account, and no one to ask how you slept. People think loneliness sounds like silence. It does not. Loneliness has sounds. It is the refrigerator humming in the next room. It is one spoon touching one cup, It is the heating system turning on in a house too large for one person. It is the phone not ringing. It is hearing good news and realizing you have no one you want to tell first. I still have the money. That is the part people might not understand. I did not lose it. The house is still paid off. The accounts are still there. The numbers still look good on paper. But money becomes very strange when there is no one left to dream with. It can pay for comfort. It can pay for care. It can pay for quiet rooms and clean sheets and food delivered to your door. But it cannot laugh at an old joke. It cannot hold your hand in church. It cannot sit across from you at breakfast and remind you to take your pills. It cannot say your name the way they did. And it cannot forgive you after they are gone. I am not telling you to quit your job. I am not telling you money does not matter. Money matters. Security matters. Being responsible matters. But there is a line. And if you are not careful, you will cross it so slowly you will not feel it happen. You will tell yourself you are building a future, but what you are really doing is borrowing from the present. A dinner here, a weekend there, a conversation, a birthday, a walk, a kiss goodbye that you barely return because your mind is already at work. And one day the debt comes due. The present will ask for everything back, and you will not have it. If your wife asks you to sit with her tonight, sit. If your husband wants to tell you the same story he has told you 10 times, listen. If your child asks you to watch something they made, watch like it is the most important meeting of your life, because maybe it is. If there is a trip you keep delaying, take it smaller if you have to. Drive 2 hours instead of flying across the world. Have sandwiches by the water instead of waiting for the perfect hotel. Stop believing life only counts when it is grand. Most of the life you will miss later was ordinary while it was happening. That is the secret no one tells you when you are young. You think the big moments will be the ones that stay. The awards, the promotions, the numbers, the applause. But at 79, the things that visit me at night are small. Mary barefoot in the kitchen, Claire asleep on the couch with a blanket falling off her shoulder, rain on the windows, 2 cups of coffee, a half-finished crossword, her hand finding mine in the dark. That was the treasure. I had it, and I kept walking past it on my way to earn more.
So please listen to an old man who learned this too late. Do not wait until life is convenient to love the people who are waiting for you. Do not make them compete with a future that is not promised. Go home when you can. Put the phone down. Take the small trip. Say the thing. Forgive quicker. Sit longer. Love now. Take the Tuesday while it is still ordinary. Because one day, if you are lucky enough to grow old, you may find yourself in a quiet kitchen with everything you worked for, and no one across the table. And if this story made you think of someone, call them today, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, today. And if you believe some lessons should not have to be learned too late, then stay. There are more stories like mine, and maybe one of them will reach someone in time.